What's up, guys? Today I want to share with you how to fix a code 6 on your Civic or CRX. I recently picked up this 1990 Civic and it has a really hard time getting the car started when it's cold. Let me show you how it acts when we're trying to start it from a cold start. So the battery's getting a little low, so I'm just gonna jump it real quick. So you're gonna hear a little bit of additional noise because of that car. Let me see if I can get it to finally turn over. Almost, finally. You roll the window up so I can speak and it's not so loud. Okay, you'll see now the check engine light is kicking on because it's recognizing the temperature. That's because I was cranking it for so many times. That's why it has finally done that. So let's try to start it again. See, it'll turn over. And right when I applied gas, it killed itself. So now we just have to kind of let it warm up on its own. Almost. And once you get it warm, it'll actually stay running and it'll be easy to start every single time and it'll just keep running. You won't have any issues with it once it's warmed up. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not applying any gas. I just want to see if it'll warm itself up a little bit. That way I can actually drive it around, get into my driveway, and then I'm gonna change that sensor. And in my experience with a car cranking like that and having a hard time starting, it's usually the sensor located right under the distributor. It's hard to see or it's a little dark there. You'll be able to see it in a little bit as I remove the distributor. But this sensor is called the ECT, or engine coolant temperature sensor. I picked up one off of eBay. Now I don't think this is OEM, even though they have this OEM label on it. It looks like people are getting really good at printing these. I don't know if it is. Paid only about $7.50 for a ship. I figured I'd give it a shot and see if it corrects the issue. Now on this particular vehicle, you would normally check what code you're getting from the check engine light by counting the LED blinks on the ECU. I pull it out just so you can see what it looks like, and if it's normally in your car, you'll have this metal plate which covers it. You don't need to remove it. You can just look right here and see exactly how many times it's flashing. That'll give you an idea of what check engine light you're throwing. This car has been modified, so now it's running different onboard diagnostics. That's OBD. We're actually running OBD2 on this car. They have an OBD2 distributor. They have a P28 ECU hooked up with Hondata inside of it. So it's just like tuning ability, which they were shooting for. So with doing that and changing on this car, and that'll be similar to most newer model Civics and Integras, you're gonna look for the little jumper connector down here. It's a little blue, I believe it's always a blue connector. We're gonna jump that together, and on the dash, it'll flash how many times the check engine light is flashing, it'll show us exactly what the check engine light is reading for. So what you can do, take a paper clip, bend it into horseshoe shape, and just shove it into the connector. And then let's start the car up and see what the check engine light is flashing for. Now if you notice, it started flashing even before the car started because the ECU was getting power at that point, and it's already going to show you what the codes are for. Now this one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll flash the code over and over. If there's more than one, it'll do the first code, then the second code, and then it'll go back to the first and second. It'll just keep repeating itself over and over. Now, by looking at this and counting it, you can see it's just the 6 quick flashes, which is a code 6. And you may have also noticed how easily the car started now that it's been warmed up a little bit. Usually there's no issue in starting it. It's still running a little rough, and that's because I don't want to heat it up completely. Because to change this, we need to drain some of the radiator fluid out. It's not going to make the biggest difference, but it is going to stop making such a huge mess everywhere, because obviously once we drain some of this down, get some of that out of there, there's still going to be a little bit that which is inside the head, and it'll actually come out from where we remove the sensor, but we're just going to drain a little bit to avoid making such a big mess. While I let that continue draining, I went ahead and disconnected the battery just to reset the ECU, also since we're working on an electrical connection. And we're going to remove the distributor. That'll make it so much easier to show you exactly what we're working on. 3 12mm bolts, one right here, one in the front, the back one is right down there. Before disconnecting your distributor, you may want to mark on the distributor and the top of the head right here some sort of mark letting you know exactly where to reline up your distributor. That way you don't throw off your ignition timing, because if you just pull it off and put it back on any direction, your ignition timing is going to be off. For me, it's not a necessity. This car is not being driven. It's completely a parts car, so I'm not going to mark it at all. And with the distributor out of the way, it makes it very easy to see now. There's just a clip on here. You just got to squeeze and then remove the wiring from it. And you can see the base of it. That's the base on the new plug right here. And now go ahead and remove the old sensor. This needs a 19mm socket, so you can fit it right on there. Use your ratchet and get that one removed. Now be prepared, you'll probably have coolant leaking out, so it'll probably leak all over the transmission. You can just wipe it up, but there shouldn't be as much any longer now that the radiator is not fully topped off, so all that excessive fluid will be running down and shooting out as well. And that's the reason we drain the radiator. Let me see how much fluid actually comes out when I remove the sensor. Zero. It's just wet around the edge of it. Now if you saw me just a second ago, this is for on your gauge cluster. This little sensor will show you what temperature your engine's running at. So I just pulled it off real quick, give me more room to spin the ratchet. Here's a comparison of the two side by side. You'll notice the old one, it has an old rubber O-ring on it. The new one didn't come with that. Instead, it comes with a crush washer, similar to the washers that you put on your oil drain pan plug. So we're going to install this one and then just go ahead and tighten it up. Then just go ahead and plug in both wires since we're already here, and then we're going to reinstall the distributor next. And with those back on, go ahead and reinstall your distributor. Go ahead and put your battery back in if you removed it. I only removed it just for the space so I could get to the bolts on the distributor, and then also to show you guys, I have a little bit more room to film it. Don't forget to re-add all of your coolant and then top it off if you've lost any anywhere. And then let's start it up. And one last tip, guys. If you're doing a job like this and you think it may be the sensor, always double check the wiring. If you look, see how this one has been retaped up. I don't know if any of the wires are soldered underneath. I can see down there on that wire there's some heat shrink, so obviously there's some solder there. So double check all your wiring if you're experiencing this issue before changing the sensor, because sometimes maybe you have a brittle wire that may have cracked. Maybe the sensor is just coming disconnected from the wiring itself, like the little clip at the sensor. So double check that also while doing this particular kind of job. Okay, with that finished up, let's start the car and test it. See if we get any check engine lights now. This car stutters a little bit when it's cold, but it looks like the ECT code is now gone. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. I'm gonna let the car cool off completely, and then I will give it a shot first thing in the morning to see if I can get it started then. All right guys, we're back out here the next morning. Brought out my digital thermometer. I haven't touched the car, I haven't started it. I just opened the hood, connected the battery. I wanted to show you some temps. Temperature of the block is 66 degrees. The head valve cover 73.5. The distributor 71 degrees. Radiator cap 66, radiator 67. So obviously, car's been sitting here. It's probably like 70 degrees outside right now. Let's see if we can get it started now. See if it'll start on this cold start. Hoping it does. Check engine lights on, turns off. And there it is, guys. Hope that helped you guys out fix your code 6. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.